Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtu Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisthiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Parmanand Madhavam. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitansha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Yeah, more people are joining. So, today I'll not be taking any particular verse. In fact, I'll be talking about a particular article that I read on danvats.com, and it was written by Vishakha Devi Dasi, who is Srila Prabhupada disciple. And I really liked her point of view and the shlokas that she considered to explain and to get over victimhood. So victimhood is something that we feel when we feel that we've been wronged in some way. So there are extreme cases where some child is abused, or something very extreme has happened. We are not considering those cases here. We are considering those cases where the victimhood could be avoided, because the other side, which made you feel like a victim, was equally ignorant. So let's just go over what do we mean by victimhood and what all comes under victim mentality. So these are the points that I've outlined. So victim mentality is resistance to the acceptance of the situation, or when we felt defeated by Maya in some way, and we could not accept our defeat. And this question kept bothering us, that how could I be defeated by Maya? So, and then another thing that comes under victim mentality is focusing on oneself, that I've been wronged, something wrong happened with me, that kind of mentality, or getting angry on the postman of karma. That means the person who made you the victim, you get angry on that person, and you feel hatred towards, or bitterness towards that person. Then victim mentality also means keeping oneself in the center, just thinking about oneself, not able to see the situation from the point of view of Krishna, or from the point of view of scriptures. Then focusing on the hurt and not on the lesson. Just when we are affected by something, we just we keep focusing on the hurt and not actually on the lesson that is to be learned. But it's quite natural, because we get affected, and we need to identify the areas which are really hurting, and then only we can focus on the hurt. And then we start thinking, as devotees, we start thinking that Krishna does not love me. Why did he allow this to happen? And Krishna hates me. So this is the victim mentality that bothers us. And we can and we'll see how the article helps us get over these problems. So another thing that comes along with victim mentality is the anger and the bitterness. This is one thing that article talks about. And with the anger and the bitterness that we feel when we feel like a victim, it causes further victimhood. That's why it's important to work on this victim mentality and get over it. So then there were a few questions that were answered by this article. And those are the questions that I've outlined here. Like, are we completely controlled by Krishna? Or he has given us some power? Or another question was, why do we fall victim to Krishna's illusory energy? What is the basic problem? Then how can this victimhood be avoided? So the solutions that were given in the article were the austerities that we do, the right identification. That means we need to know our identity. What is our real identity? Then it helps us avoid the victimhood. And the third solution that is given there is hearing the Vedic instructions that help us stay in that, be established in that real identity. Then what is my real identity? And who acts and who does not act? We know that there are modes of material nature that also act. Then there is soul that we don't know about, whether it acts or it does not act. So then I need to know what is my real identity and who is the real actor here. When I am being hurt, or when I am hurting someone, so who is the actor? So then another question that our article answers is just minute independence that we have. That is a little power that is given to us. Does it give us the mastery over the Lord's illusory energy? So the article answers that yes, the mastery, it does give you the mastery over the mind and the senses, because we are spiritual beings. So then how do devotees deal with ups and downs of life? Who was able to avoid the victimhood in the past? We'll see some examples from the scriptures. And then the most important question, why does Krishna allow karma to affect us? Why is he smashing my ego? Because whenever we feel hurt by someone, whenever we feel like a victim, we feel that somebody's trying to smash our ego. So then another important question, does Krishna really love me? So these questions were answered by Bhakti Tirth Swami and Radhanath Swami. So we'll see their answers. And another important aspect is how to heal yourself from the victimhood, and how does acceptance and responsibility help in this situation. So these are some of the questions that will be answered. And now we go to that article. I have picked some important lines from that article, and then my understanding of what was written there, and what were the questions that were answered by the content given in the article. So this is how I have organized today's. This is how I'm going to present that article. It will be a line-by-line analysis, and it will be nice if everybody reads what's written here. So victim mentality it's like giving away the power. Recently I was reading a lot about this psychology and things like that, and I was realizing that giving away the power in the hands of the other people, it actually makes us miserable. You keep the power in your hands. The responsibility to make you happy should be in your hands, not in the hands of other people. Because if you do that, and if that power is mishandled, then you feel you are the victim. So I was reading a lot about it, and then when I read this article, it actually explained it in terms of what's written in the scriptures. And I through this article, I was able to understand the victim consciousness and this power game between Maya and the living entity from a devotee's point of view. So it was even more interesting. So yeah, can somebody volunteer to read? Who would like to start reading? Maybe I can pick up someone. Ekanti Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sorry, I'm driving to work right now. So
you're driving. Okay. No worries. Who else can read? Nahush Prabhu, would you like to read?
Sure, Mata.
Yeah, can you? Yeah, this one.
Instead of blaming others for our suffering, we do better to understand that we're all fundamentally complicit in our so-called victimhood.
Yeah. So here, I understood this line as that, we do not need to blame others for our suffering, but we can take the responsibility of what happened to us. And it's like others like to take the power in their hands, but we are also ready to give the power away in their hands, to let them judge us, and see the situation from we allow ourselves to see our situation from others' point of view, who tend to judge us and misunderstand us. So in that way, we like to give away our power, but what Vishakha Mataji is talking about here is that we can understand that we are fundamentally complicit in our so-called victimhood. So we'll see, what else she's talking about. Would you like to read the second point as well, Nahush Prabhu?
Yes. Another meaning of victim is a person who is adversely affected by a force, which includes a person who is deceived by his or her own emotions or ignorance. It is in this sense that, through the eyes of the scriptures, we can explore victims and their innocence or lack of it.
Yeah. So sometimes, the person who caused us, who made us feel like a victim, they are themselves deceived by their own emotions or ignorance. So, in that case, if we understand that how ignorant the other person is, it will probably help us, avoid the victimhood, and this can be seen from one of the examples in our scriptures. So we see that in case of Parikshit Maharaj, he was actually cursed by a Brahmin boy, and the actual situation was Parikshit Maharaj went for hunting in a forest, and there he was very thirsty, and he went to a sage who was actually meditating, but that sage was so lost in his meditation that he did not pay attention to a king who was there, and he was thirsty. So he did not hear Maharaj Parikshit, when he was asking for water. So what Maharaj Parikshit did was he took a dead snake and he put it around that sage, and somebody went and told that sage's son that your father, he's somebody has put a snake around his neck. So that little boy, he thought that my father has died. So he cursed that person. He cursed Maharaj Parikshit. He said that whoever has put the snake around my father's neck, that person will die in 7 days. So this Brahmin boy, who was the son of that sage, was actually ignorant of the actual situation. So when the little boy came there and he found that his father was not actually dead, because it was a dead snake, and his father did not mind that snake being put around him, because he understood that Maharaj Parikshit came here and he was thirsty, and since I could not receive him well, this is what the king do, so I do not need to get angry with the king. But the king got cursed anyway, And the thing is that, Maharaj Parikshit did feel bad about what happened, and, but he did not dwell on that situation for a very long time. So this victim consciousness was practically absent in a pure devotee like Parikshit Maharaj. And Kunti Devi. We see that Kunti Devi has zero victim consciousness, it seems. She went through a lot, along with her sons. But we know that in Kunti, in the prayers of Queen Kunti, she is actually asking for more troubles. So who has a heart to say that to the Lord, give me more troubles? Somebody like Kunti Devi who has got zero victim consciousness. So even after going through all the troubles in her life, she is asking for more troubles. So that means she does not feel victimized by, whatever happened with her. And then I read these beautiful lines written by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. He says that a devotee doesn't mind humiliated before the whole world and understood by no one, if that is the will of the Lord. So if the will of the Lord is that a devotee should be humiliated in front of the whole world, or it's the will of the Lord that he should not be understood by anyone, a devotee does not mind. So this is called pure love. The Lord has a message, the Lord has a mission, and he utilizes his most surrendered devotees for that purpose. So we see that the pure devotees, they accept Lord's will without showing any resistance, and they act out of love rather than acting out of fear that develops when we feel like a victim. So now we'll see what else Mataji is talking about in this article. Who else would like to read? Nicole, would you like to read? Hare Krishna. Giridharan unmuted himself. Giridharan, would you like to read?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Nicole. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I was making breakfast. If you could just tell me where I'm supposed to be reading.
Yeah, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes it clear.
Okay, sure. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes it clear that we have free will. We are not incapable to help helpless pawns. After instructing Arjuna, he says, "Deliberate on this fully, then do what you wish to do." Gita 1863. As adults, each of us has some ability to decide how we want to act. We have some mastery and personal power, and therefore we are responsible for our own actions.
Yeah. So with that, what came to my mind was that, so these lines that Nicole just read, they answer a very important question, that are we completely controlled by Krishna, or we have some self-mastery? So these lines answer that we have some self-mastery and personal power, and that is the minute independence that is given to a living entity. And so we are not like, we are not slaves. Krishna does not want us to be his slaves. Sometimes I used to wonder that why he has given this minute independence for us to misuse it and not use it in his service. But the important thing that is answered here is that we are not incapable and helpless pawns. That's not how Krishna has made us. He has given this self-mastery and personal power that we can unleash within ourselves. So this is what, so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 1863, when he's done talking, when he's done giving his instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then he asks Arjuna that you deliberate on this fully and then do as you wish. So he does not want us to be his slaves. He basically wants us to surrender with love, which is the most beautiful thing. So he has given this minute independence, and now it's up to us to use that minute independence in serving him and with love. So that is what is desired, and that's why the minute independence has been given to us. I wrote some more realizations. Yeah, so that free will or minute independence is our power. So we can have the power in our hands. We don't need to give away this power in the hands of Maya or the modes of material nature. So in this way, we are responsible for our actions. Since we have this free will or minute independence, we are responsible for for our actions. So let's go to the next point now. Yeah, so when I feel like a victim, I need to identify that I have some power, and I might have misused it in some way. I might have just given away this power, and in this way I was responsible. So this is also one step in getting over the victimhood. Let's see what else the article is saying. Kamaya, would you like to read?
Yeah, I can read.
Okay.
There's the highlighted portion.
Yet at the same time.
Yet, at the same time, and perhaps surprisingly, the scriptural view is that those of us who are not strong devotees of Krishna are victims of Krishna's illusory energy. We are adversely affected by Krishna's material nature. Srila Prabhupada explains, the material world is called illusory because it is a place of forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. Thus, one engaged in the Lord's devotional service in the material world may sometimes be very much disturbed by awkward circumstances. There is a declaration of war between the two parties, the illusory energy and the devotee, and sometimes the weak devotees fall victim to the onslaught of the powerful illusory energy.
Yeah, so this is from Bhagavatam 3.10.5 purport. So although we have this power, but we don't know about it yet. We have this self-mastery and personal power that is being talked about here. Since we are not the helpless pawns, we are not incapable. We have the power, but since we have not realized it, and since we are not strong devotees, we fall victim to Krishna's illusory energy. And this war is going on between the illusory energy and the devotee. And sometimes it does happen that we fall victim to the onslaught of powerful illusory energy. So yeah. So let's read the next point. Who would like to read? Dayamai, would you like to read? Hare Krishna, Dayamai. Who else? Giridharan, would you like to read?
Yeah, I can read.
Okay.
The idea
But-
is that, the idea is that we, spirit souls, are pure because we are an integral part of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Pure. When we come under the grip of Krishna's material energy, we become a victim of the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. Then, whatever we do under the influence of those modes. Thus, we are victims. The Bhagavad Gita 3.27 confirms. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature.
Yeah. So here a very important point is being talked about. They are saying that we are spirit souls and we are pure, and because we are integral parts of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is supremely pure. But in this material world, we come under the influence of material energy. We become material energy, and we become victims of the three modes of material nature, that are goodness, passion, and ignorance. And so this Bhagavad Gita shlok that is talked about here, it says that when we are bewildered by the influence of three modes of material nature, we think that we are the doers, but the doers are actually the three modes of material nature. So this point, it actually answers that question, that what is the role of modes of material nature. So sometimes when we achieve something, we like to take the credit. We like to say that I did it, and we take the credit. We like to be glorified. And when something goes wrong, we keep blaming ourselves, that, and then we go into that kind of victim consciousness. But the doubt that is being clarified here is that it's actually the modes of material nature who are acting. Of course, we have the responsibility, and we have some self-mastery, but as long as we don't realize that, we give away this power to the modes of material nature, and they act upon us, and they make us the victim. So yeah, but we'll see later that if we realize that we are the spirit souls, when we realize that our real identity is that of a spirit soul, then we'll not fall victim to these modes of material nature. So let's see what's the next point. Who would like to read? Shay, would you like to read?
Sure, what part?
And a bit later, 5:14.
My Sanskrit is pretty awful.
Oh, don't worry about that. You can read from here. The embodied spirit.
The embodied spirit. Okay.
Yeah.
The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. In other words, if we're without proper knowledge, we're in the hands of the material energy in the form of goodness, passion, ignorance, or some combination thereof, and we suffer. Due to ignorance, we're deceived by the material nature.
Yeah. So the ignorance that is being talked about here is the ignorance of the fact that we are spirit souls. We think we are this body. Whole day we talk in those terms. We comment on people's appearances. We do things thinking that I'm doing this for my body. So if we are in that kind of consciousness, we are in ignorance of the fact that we are spirit souls, and because of this, we are deceived by the material nature. So I like this fact, where it says embodied spirit, master of the city of the body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act. So we don't need to blame ourselves too much, and be in that victim consciousness for a very long time, because it's the modes of material nature acting upon us. So yeah, there's a very important point. There's a very important point here. So how long do these modes of material nature act? We all have seen this diagram here, where the modes of material nature, goodness, passion and ignorance, they are making people dance according to their past karma. So these modes of material nature, they make people dance according to their past karma. And how long does this happen? This happens until the living entity surrenders to Krishna. So there's a shloka in Bhagavad Gita, Devi Hesha Gurmayi, Mam Maya Duratyaya, Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. That means Krishna is saying in that shloka that my illusory energy, Maya, which comprises of the three modes of material nature, is actually insurmountable. It's very difficult to get over the influence of illusory energy of the Lord. But if you surrender unto me, then you will get over it. So even Bhagavad Gita says that the pure devotees their senses are directly controlled by Krishna. So if we are directly controlled by Krishna, if we give away our power to Krishna, then he will not abuse it. So if we we have to become pure devotees so that we don't mind being controlled by Krishna the way he wants us to control us. So we will understand it in a more loving way as the article progresses. Because this idea of surrendering unto the Lord, it sometimes looks very as if he's an autocrat, and he just wants to be a controller, and he wants everybody to be under their control, but it's really not that bad. So let's see what else is being talked about here. They'll talk about more about why we fall victim to Maya, and what is the basic cause of us falling victim, and that is our misidentification. So that is what is being talked about here. Let's see. Sanskriti, would you like to read? Hare Krishna. How much are we innocent victims?
How much are we innocent victims? How much are we capable? According to Srimad Bhagavatam, person above the chief of the
Voice is not clear. Your voice is not clear.
Okay now?
Now it's okay.
Yeah. Person above the age of 14 are considered capable of distinguish between good and bad, and are thus responsible for their pious and sinful activities. Animal, on the other hand, being merged in ignorance, can't be blamed for their offenses or praised of their so-called good qualities, which all arises ultimately from ignorance. Bhagavatam 11.21.16 purport: if I remain ignorant and continue to misidentify the body and mind as myself, then I also remain bewildered and weak and a victim of Krishna's powerful illusionary energy. My basic misidentification makes me a prey to a candidate of difficulties and suffering. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita begins with the spiritual instruction that no one is there for their body or mind, but each one of us is spiritual being existing within the body and mind. Forgetting this, I become a victim of whatever befall my body and mind.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, here the question that is being answered is, why do we fall victim to Krishna's illusory energy? And the problem is our misidentification with the body and the mind. So we misidentify with our mind, and we forget that we are the spirit souls. So that is the problem. And whatever goes on in our mind whole day, which causes all the victimhood, it's actually spoken by the mind. It's not the soul speaking, it's the mind. And that is the thing to be understood, that you are not your mind. So, but we identify with our body and mind, and everything that affects us, it affects the body and the mind. So here the important point to be understood is, if I continue this misidentification, then basically I'll keep becoming a victim to whatever befalls my body and the mind. So I read this nice quote which says that, don't they say that the soul knows how to heal itself? The challenge is to silence the mind. And one of the ways to silence the mind's negative chatter is to neglect it. So why to neglect the mind's negative chatter? Because you are not the mind, you are the spirit soul. So these are some of the things that we can remind ourselves. And one of the points that is talked about here is that above the age of 14, we are actually we are actually capable of distinguishing between what is good and bad, and we are responsible for our pious and sinful activities. So animals do not get this karma thing, but yeah, human beings do get it. So let's see what's the next point. Who would like to read? Tom, would you like to read? Thomas?
No, I'm sorry, I'm driving right now.
Okay, no problem. Who else can read? Who else can read? Gitanjali, would you like to read? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Would you like to read?
Yeah.
To stop being a victim.
Hare Krishna. To stop being a victim, I need to address its root cause, that I have misidentified the body and mind as myself. and correct the misconception. My misidentification creates three kinds of mundane urges: the urge to speak, the urges or demands of mind, and the demands of the body. In Prabhupada's words, when a living entity falls victim to these three types of urges, his life becomes inauspicious. One who practices resisting these demands or urges is called a tapasvi, or one who practices austerities. By such tapasya, one can overcome victimization by the material energy and the external potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Nectar of Instruction, text 1 purport.
Yeah. So here Prabhupada is talking about, you know, why do I, to stop being a victim, I need to stop identifying myself with my body and my mind. And what is the cause of my misidentification? It's these three kind of mundane urges. Everybody likes to speak. We want to give in to the urges or demands of the mind and the demands of the body. So recently I was thinking that, waking up early in the morning, it's kind of an austerity, but we need to do these austerities. And we'll be able to do that when we at least theoretically accept that we are spirit souls, and we are and we want to engage ourselves in the service of the Lord. So but if I'm in bodily consciousness and I think that my body, I can go to bed late at night and I wake up whenever I want to, then that's not austerity, and that's like falling victim to the demands of the body. So so if I want to get out of this bodily consciousness, I need to do some austerities. And the next point that is talked about here is that in order to achieve something in the material world also, we need to do a lot of austerities. Like if you want to start a job, if you want to start work at 7 a.m. in the morning, you need to get up a bit early. So and in the student's life, you might have realized that when you really wanted to do well in your studies, you were working hard, and and you were studying hard, you're waking up early in the morning, or you were staying up late in the night and studying. So in that way, we do a lot of austerities to achieve something in this material world also. So we are all capable of doing austerities. So in the same way, to achieve something in spiritual life, it requires some austerities, and we are fully capable of doing those austerities. So then we read the next point. I think Giridharan can read it. Hare Krishna, Giridharan.
In executing penance, one must be determined to return home back to Godhead and must decide to undergo all types of tribulations for that end. Even for material prosperity, name, fame, and fame, one has to undergo severe types of penance. Otherwise, no one can become an important figure in this material world. Why then would there not be severe types of penance for the perfection of devotional service? An easy-going life and attainment of perfection in transcendental realization cannot go together. The Lord is more clever than any living entity. Therefore, he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. The order is received from the Lord either directly or through the bona fide spiritual master. And to execute that order, however painstaking, is the severe type of penance. One who follows the principle rigidly is sure to achieve success in attaining the Lord's mercy. Bhagavatam 2.9.24 purport.
Yeah. So here the important points that I thought were worth focusing on, while waking up early in the morning, while doing any kind of austerities, we need to keep in mind that we don't belong to this material world where there's a danger at every step. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We want to go back to Godhead. So if we keep that in mind, it becomes easier to do all those austerities. And the thing that is I highlighted here is that easygoing life and attainment of perfection and transcendental realization cannot go together. So recently I've been learning a lot about this concept of self-love. And if you apply that concept, not knowing what your real self is. Your real self is actually your soul. If you apply that concept on your body, then you'll be fine with waking up late in the morning and staying up until 2 a.m. And just wasting your time or doing anything. But and you'll be fine with that. Just keep applying that concept of self-love with whatever you are doing in your life, and just be easygoing and just have fun. Just do whatever you like to do. But the thing is that the misidentification is still there, that you are this body, you are not the spirit soul. So if we want to apply the concept of self-love in the way that it should be applied, if we apply it in the way that I'm the spirit soul, and that's why in order to nurture my soul, I need to do something for it. That is the real self-love. So and the thing that is talked about here is the Lord is clever, and he wants to see how much pain we are taking for him. And the spiritual master orders that you wake up early in the morning, you perform this Ekadashi, and you instead of wasting your time on say watching YouTube videos or watching some movies and just entertaining yourself, you can go attend kirtans, you can attend Bhagavatam classes. That's a bit of austerity, but it pays you in the long run. So and this is how we are able to achieve Lord's mercy. So in fact, to continue our daily chanting, we need this dose of Bhagavatam. We need the association of devotees, and with this we will be able to achieve the mercy of the Lord. So let's see what else is being talked about here. I'll read. We begin by accepting, even theoretically, that because we are spiritual beings temporarily inhabiting a material body and mind, we can never be satisfied by trying to enjoy matter in whatever form it takes. Without this acceptance, our indefatigable desire to enjoy matter will continue, and with it, our continued victimization. So, I can apply this concept of self-love to my body, but one thing that I realized was I can keep on enjoying like that, but I'll never be satisfied. And I think whoever comes to these organizations like ISKCON, whoever tries to explore the spiritual life, spiritual aspect of life, they have somehow come to this realization that material life is not pleasing them anymore. So even if we have not become pure devotees yet, but even if we theoretically accept that we are spiritual beings, and start doing the austerities, then we will be able to avoid this continued victimization by material energy. So here the thing, we escape such false promises of enjoyment by the process of bhakti, devotional service to Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Instead of allowing our senses to try to gratify themselves materially, we use our senses in the service of the master of the senses. So there are these false promises by Maya that I'll make you happy. Give me your power, I'll make you happy. But then in that process, we feel that we are abused by material energy of the Lord. So in order to keep the control in our hands, we can perform this process of bhakti, devotional service to Krishna, and then we'll be able to achieve that self-mastery that was being talked about in one of the points. Then we'll be able to have that control on our senses. So that was my takeaway from this point. And then take, for example, the sense of hearing. In Srila Prabhupada's words, if human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literature, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds vibrated by the impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. So it's like we become like the people we expose ourselves to. If in my case, I've seen that if I hear people who swear a lot, I also start swearing a lot. So and if I start hearing this hear from my spiritual master, and I hear from these different sadhus, then I start getting their vibes. So it's so important to utilize this hearing process for the Vedic literature. And because it's a pious sound, and it will make you like the people who are being talked about there. They talk about great devotees and their qualities, and we start to get those vibes and get some purity, and be able to develop that sense of control over Maya. So that's what we want. Yeah, so is there anything that I missed here? No. In other words, we as spiritual beings are actually the lord of our senses and our mind. Although temporarily we have become victims of their influences. So it's only temporary. The victimization that happened because of Maya, it's temporary, but we are spiritual beings and we can actually become the lords of our senses and mind. We can reclaim that power. So by Bhakti Yoga Krishna consciousness, we may resume our rightful position as the master of our mental and sensory faculties. At that point, whatever happens externally, we are heroes instead of victims. Material activities are false heroic activities. Prabhupada writes, whereas restraining the senses from material engagement is great heroism. So this is from Bhagavatam 4:25-25. So we want to become heroes. We want to become the master. We want to become the master of our mental and sensory faculties. We don't want to give away our power to the material energy and become the victim. So that is what is being talked about here. When I fail to master my mind and my senses, I feel bitter about my experiences. Why did this happen to me? I didn't do anything to deserve this. So yeah, so this is actually the victim consciousness, when we start feeling bitter about our situation. So if I don't work hard for my spiritual life, if I keep giving away this power to the material energy, then it will make me its victim by its false promises of enjoyment. And then I'll feel, why did this happen to me? I didn't do anything to deserve this. So this is like a resistance to accept the situation. And this is like, the feeling of being defeated by Maya. And, either we focus on ourselves or we focus on the postman of our karma, the person who delivered the bad karma to us. And in this way, we keep ourselves in the center. So while the scriptures agree that we are victims in the sense that we are adversely affected by material nature, they don't accept the bitterness that can accompany victimhood. Rather, the anger and bitterness is rather that anger and bitterness is evidence that I'm allowing myself to be further victimized. Lord Krishna says this one. So if I stay angry and I stay bitter towards some bad experience that I had where I felt like a victim, it means that I'm allowing myself to become further victimized by that kind of a situation. So yeah, so this with this, I also got this understanding that sometimes we get attached to the name and fame, and when we don't get that, or we got that once and now it's lost, then we feel very bitter and angry. So for example, if I was on a high position somewhere and that position was taken away from me, then because of my attachment to that position, and because now it's being taken away from me, I feel very angry and bitter. So it does not help me. So and why does it happen? It happens because we focus a lot on the name and fame. So if we focus a lot, as Bhagavad Gita 22:62-63 says, that if you contemplate on the objects of the senses, you develop attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops. When lust is not fulfilled, anger arises, and then complete delusion, and then bewilderment of memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. Intelligence is lost, one falls down into the material pool. So if we are angry, if we are bitter, that means we were attached to whatever we have lost, either it was name or fame or whatever we were attached to, and when we could not get that, now we are angry and we are paving the way for further further we can say victimhood. So we don't want that. So Prabhupada explained in a lecture, so how we become victim of this Maya that is described here from I have completely forgotten that I'm not this body, I'm the spirit soul. So this name and fame that I'm attached to is actually associated with my body. it has got nothing to do with the soul. So once people depart this world, their name and fame does not mean anything to them. So if I always remember that I am the spirit soul and not get attached to the name and fame that is attached, that comes with my bodily identification, then I'll be able to avoid this victimhood. So Prabhupada here says that Aham Brahmasmi, that means I'm part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman, absolute truth, and I have forgotten this. That's why I become victim of this Maya. So if I can stay established in this consciousness that I am the spirit soul, then I'll not be affected by the ups and downs of this material world. So devotees do not become angry and bitter about their fate. Instead, they use their apparently negative situation to make spiritual progress, accepting that ultimately the source of problem that created their suffering is within them, not without them. So then here they're talking about the responsibility that we need to take. Our purification from material consciousness demands that we accept responsibility for our circumstances. If we get bitter, it means we haven't accepted that responsibility, which makes it difficult to get better. So the responsibility that they're talking about here is that I'm in some way responsible for this. This is my karma in the sense that I still identify with my body. I haven't accepted that I haven't realized that I'm a spirit soul. So in that way, I am responsible for whatever happened. So if that's the situation, the question then becomes, how might I respond in a way that helps this understanding? How can I shift my focus away from victimhood? The first step may be humility. Years ago, when a devotee absconded with a life member's money, so it looks like in Prabhupada's time, somebody absconded with a life member's money, somebody took away a life member's money, and then Srila Prabhupada said that do not be angry with the instrument of your karma, do not be angry with the thief. So who knows what we have done in the past to create our present situation? We can only know that we have experienced, as well as we can only know that what we have experienced as well as our present circumstances are not accidents, because there are no accidents in Krishna's creation. Somehow or the other, whatever happens in Krishna's creation is Krishna's plan, directly or indirectly. So the money that was stolen, it looks like Krishna's plan was to help the person develop detachment for that money. So if I am very much attached to the money that was being stolen, then I'll be more miserable. It all depends on how attached I was. So unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is technically not a karmic reaction. So in this way, if I see the situation from Krishna's point of view, that he is helping me helping me develop detachment for the money that was stolen here, then it will not be technically a karmic reaction. It is the Lord's special mercy to induce his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. So Maharaj Parikshit's example we spoke about earlier, and here it's being talked about that he did not wallow in his misfortune. Rather, he did not rail against the Brahmana who cursed him, or the Brahmanical class for fostering such an unqualified person. So rather, he took the impending death as an opportunity to rid himself of all the distractions and concentrate exclusively on understanding as a person's duty, especially his duty, the duty of one about to die. As a result, he heard the beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam concerning the name, fame, form, qualities, and teachings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit brilliantly arranged his life to elevate his consciousness. So he did not wallow in his misfortune. He did not go into victimhood. We know certain shlokas from Srimad Bhagavatam where he is repenting his mistake, but he did not dwell in that consciousness for a long time. I know when something bad happened with me in the past, I went to the astrologers and I wanted to find out why did this happen to me. And based on what astrologers told me, I was miserable about that for a very long time. That it happened to me because I did certain thing in the past. So I see that Maharaj Parikshit did not do anything like that. that why I was cursed by a Brahmana, and that too unjustly. He did not do anything like that. In fact, he he found out what is the duty of a person who is about to leave this world. He started hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami, and because of him, so everybody else was, because of him, we got this great literature of Srimad Bhagavatam. So granted, this is an exalted example that many of us, myself included, are not ready to fully embrace, but we can take responsibility of our situation, avoid blaming others, and remain confident that if we simply try to see our situation spiritually, Krishna will help us, although we can never know exactly how he will help. So here, Mataji Vishakha Devi Dasi, who has written this article, she has also spoken about the reality that we are not at the level of Parikshit Maharaj, who can get rid of the victimhood in one shot. But at least, we can take the responsibility of our situation, that I may be somewhere responsible for the situation. Maybe there's something within me that needs to change, and that will help the situation, instead of, blaming others for our situation, and believing that, and when we blame others for our situation, we have this fear, constant fear that somebody in future will be able to harm me in the same way again. So that's why giving away the power in the hands of the other people is not helpful. So what helps is reminding us that Krishna always wants the best for us. He's helping us, although we can never know exactly how he will help. So this is also a fact that needs to be accepted. Krishna's Srimad Bhagavatam says that Krishna's plans are very difficult to understand. So why he put us in a certain situation, and how that situation is helping us, it may not become evident very, very easily. So yeah, and then this shloka, if we are in a very difficult situation, we are still not able to understand why something happened to us. We are not able to really understand the situation from Krishna's point of view. Then this shloka really helps. It's from 10th canto. It says, "My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering your respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim." So if I patiently suffer the reactions of my past misdeeds, but I continue glorifying the Lord with my heart, words, and body, then I'll become eligible for liberation, because it will become my rightful claim. So it's like we have to continue our chanting and reading in spite of all the difficulties that we are facing, and we'll succeed. This shloka says, if you read the purport, this shloka says that you just have to stay alive. Like a son has to stay alive to inherit the kingdom of his father. You just have to stay alive in Krishna consciousness. And there's another way I try to understand this shloka. It says that we must pray to Krishna to help us to love him, as we have a debt of love to repay to Krishna, because he has been loving us since many lifetimes, births and ages. So that debt needs to be paid off. That's why we need to keep offering our love to Krishna in the form of devotional service that we are performing, because we have a debt. So and then Vishakha Mataji says that it's very important that you express yourself when you're feeling bad about something, when you're feeling hurt. Please go and express yourself to an empathetic devotee, and that will help you. That will trigger your healing process. And I also read this thing recently, that listen, people start to heal the moment they feel heard. So if you go and you speak about your problem to empathetic devotee or a friend who really understands you, then you start healing from that point. So this is a very important tip to remember, to start your healing process. And it says that, next point says that it's easy to think of myself as a hapless victim, just as it's easy to blame someone for my mistakes rather than to accept responsibility. So it looks like, when during Prabhupada's time, there was some difficulty that happened, and people started blaming someone who was not present there. And Prabhupada pointed out that it's very easy to blame someone when the person is not around to defend himself. So it's very easy to feel like a victim, and it's very easy to blame someone else for our suffering. So but however difficult it may be, we can start to take some responsibility of our circumstances, and that way we'll feel powerful. We'll feel powerful in the sense that I can do something about it, rather than thinking that until the other person changes, my situation is not gonna change. It's better to think that I can change something within myself, and that will help the situation. So this relates to the quote that I read. Lasting changes always begin from the inside. Nothing changes around you until something changes within you. So I can change my perspective. I can try hard to establish myself in the consciousness that I am the spirit soul. I can do something about it rather than putting the blame on the other person. So that comes under acceptance and responsibility. Then the last point that Prabhupada wrote in a letter: in the material world, there's a constant fight. I think we have already read something like that. Yeah, let's read from here. Similarly, a person who is always fixed up in Krishna consciousness cannot be defeated by Maya. Sometimes in spite of our full Krishna consciousness, we fall a victim to Maya, but that is temporary. Just as seasonal changes, such calamities do come and pass away, and we have to endure them. In other words, let's never stop trying to live our lives meaningfully and heroically, in full awareness of our identity as an integral part of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we'll try to live our lives meaningfully and heroically. Heroism, as one of the points mentioned earlier, that real heroism is achieving the mastery over one's minds and senses. In that way, we'll become real heroes. So to become a hero in this world, to get some opulence in this world, to get some name and fame in this world, is not actually real heroism, because it makes you proud. It makes you proud. Rather, becoming an actual hero is to achieve mastery over one's mind and senses. And if I stay established in the consciousness that I'm a spirit soul, and that's why I don't need the name and fame of this world, that's actually the real self-love, and where self is the soul. So I read recently that highest form of self-love is a good japa. So our self-love, this journey of self-love, of trying to be established in the consciousness that I'm the spirit soul, begins with a good japa. So yeah, these are some of our points. Yeah, Nahush Prabhu is saying, can you share the lecture for today? Yes, I'll do that. Before that, I wanted to share just one more point, that why does Krishna allow our past karma to affect us? Why is he smashing our ego? Is everybody able to see my screen? This one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, I was always thinking that, maybe Krishna could have made this law of karma easier for devotees. Why do I have to go through so many troubles to, become a pure devotee? Why is he trying to smash my ego? Whenever I'm insulted by someone, whenever somebody says something that I don't like, or whenever I'm in a situation that I'm not comfortable with, I always think, wow, what is he trying to do? Why is he trying to smash my ego? Does he love me or not? So this answer was very well given by Bhakti Tirth Swami and Radhanath Maharaj. So Radhanath Maharaj has given the words of transcendence. There are 60 sentences that he has given, and they basically summarize all the spiritual wisdom that he has. So in that, he's answering that by allowing past karma to affect us, Krishna is giving us a chance to surrender more. So it's only when our ego is smashed, when all these unwanted things within us, lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, all these unwanted things, they leave us, we'll be able to surrender to the Lord. So when the past karma affects us, it basically targets one of these vices that have been bothering us since I don't know when. So the surrender sounds horrible to one who wants to be a controller, but it is the sweetest and most pleasing of all words for a devotee who has a humble heart. For some, it is a bitter medicine. For devotees, it is a sweet nectar. So if I still want to be a controller of this world, if I want name and fame, if I want to be a popular person in this world, if I want the opulence of this world and be a queen in this world, then it will be a difficult thing for me to surrender to the Lord. It will be a difficult concept for me. Why should I surrender to someone? But for a humble heart, for somebody who knows how sweet Krishna is and how sweet he is with his devotees, the surrender will be it will be a sweet nectar. So Mahatma Prabhu said recently that when Krishna says surrender unto me, then what he really means is, I love you, will you love me? So Krishna loves us. Krishna loves all of us unconditionally, but the problem is it's from our side. So that's what he means by surrender unto me. And when he is allowing past karma to affect us, he is actually removing all the barriers that are present between us and Krishna. So this answer. There's an article with the name "Remove All Barriers so that we can love each other completely." It's from Bhakti Tirth Swami. You can go and read it on his page. But I would like to read one paragraph from that article that he wrote. So this is all a part of the divine culture of bhakti, where one accepts and surrenders to the Supreme Lord fully to later have the Lord remove all barriers so that he can surrender himself fully to his servant. This is the most confidential expression of the Godhead. When I consider the immense joy and fulfillment atheists and speculators are denying themselves with all their doubts and delusional thinking, I simply grieve for their lamentable condition. More important, I now see the extreme importance of subduing and transcending my false ego. After all, it is the false ego alone that keeps me in the material world, trying to ignore or imitate the Supreme. So, why is Krishna allowing all that karma to affect us? Because he wants so that he can surrender himself fully to his servant. So he wants to serve his devotees. And this is not the concept unknown to us. On the cover of Bhagavad Gita, you can see that Krishna has become the chariot driver of his devotee Arjun. He's actually trying to serve his devotees. So there's nothing that he did not do for Pandavas. That means Arjun and his brothers. He became their chariot driver. He became a messenger for them. He became a night watchman for them. When Arjuna was fighting in the battle, he was looking after the horses. He became everything to them. He became a messenger for them. What is it that Krishna did not do for his devotees? So he actually wants to surrender to his devotees. And, this is the most confidential expression of the Godhead. Krishna wants to be controlled by his devotees. And to take us to that stage, he's sending all these problems so that we get rid of this false ego, which is keeping us in this material world. So these are all the barriers that we need to get rid of. And that's why, that's what we should tell ourselves. When our false ego is being smashed, that it's good that, our false ego is being smashed. And with that, I'm becoming pure enough to one day I'll become pure enough to leave this material world and be with Krishna and enjoy loving exchanges with him, because that's what he wants. So Krishna loves us. I will end this article and with this thing that Krishna actually loves us. That's what we need to keep reminding ourselves, and that helps us get through all the difficult times that we go through. That he loves us and he wants us to develop love for him, so that we can be in loving relationship with him and be happy forever. So is there anything that anybody wants to comment or say, or any corrections, comments, anything? Hare Krishna.
I can say one thing. I Hare Krishna Mata. So I'm not sure where in the scriptures is written, but I've heard from many devotees that as we're approaching Krishna, to surrender. Sometimes Krishna gives like a glimpse of how it will be in the spiritual world to draw us in closer. And as you said from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you had quoted one verse where as a devotee surrenders, and is they are accepting the karma as it comes, but they're at the same simultaneously approaching Krishna to surrender. That's when Krishna, I forget exactly how you said that, but yeah, that's a really inspiring verse. I wanted to say that. That's all.
Yeah, the 10th canto verse is very inspiring, where Lokram Prabhu has given us the link to this article. Yeah, Tattenu Kampasu Samikshamano. That verse is really inspiring for someone who's going through a bad time. That if you accept, accept your situation and you continue the glorification of the Lord, then you actually become the inheritor of the kingdom of the Lord. So yeah, it's something that we can tell ourselves, keep telling ourselves if we are going through a very tough time, and it really helps. It really helps. Is there anything else people want to say? Lokram Prabhu, are you still there?
Yes.
Prabhu, do you have any comment?
This is a very nice discussion. Thank you so much for taking on the being brave to lead the discussion and picking this wonderful topic. It's a very important topic. I think that we can just realize how much power and influence we actually have in our life if we just align ourselves with Krishna. But that's the first step. We have to align ourselves with Krishna, and then we can really experience all of the promises of Krishna consciousness. We are our greatest enemy. That's one. There's one verse in the 7th canto where Prahlad Maharaj explains that the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul is his own uncontrolled mind.
Yeah, very true, very true.
And that aside from our own mind, no one can actually harm us or touch us. Because like Krishna says in the 2nd chapter of the Gita, the soul can't be withered by the wind, it can't be burnt by fire, it can't be cut. So the soul is transcendental. It can't be affected by this material world unless our mind, we allow ourselves to be dragged down to the material plane.
Yeah. There's one sentence I read recently. It says, save yourself from your own thoughts. So it really matches with the 7th canto thing that you mentioned, that other than uncontrolled mind, there you have no enemy in this world. So true. Thank you so much for your input, Prabhu. What else people want to say? If somebody wants these documents that I was showing in the class, they can write to me and I'll send it to them. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for joining the class today. Hare Krishna.
I want to say one last thing. Mata, if I may.
Sure.
Deva Madhava Prabhu often talks about Krishna consciousness as being a marathon, and that's really important to know that we have our whole lives to give to Krishna, and using our intelligence is important. Like buddhi, in association with devotees, always consulting Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra is really important to make decisions in our lives. So that's just one last thing I wanted to add. It just came to me. So
yeah. When we are not able to decide something, we can always approach Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and that helps us put things in perspective. Even to begin the healing, you need to find a devotee and somebody who is trustworthy, You can go and talk to them, and that's when you feel heard, that's when your healing process begins, as the article was mentioning. We really need the association of devotees even to continue our reading and chanting. So thank you for mentioning that point. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet again. Hare Krishna.